He is the leader of the world's most powerful clan, the Grieving Souls, and is known for his wisdom and strength. But in reality, he's a loser and a weakling who just wants to find a way to quit his job. Cry Andri is reluctantly waiting in line at a treasure hunter clan meeting. He doesn't want to be there, but he is left with no other option. In this world, treasure hunters are like celebrities, risking their lives exploring treasure vaults and facing big monsters, just like your mom. It's dangerous, but the allure of wealth and fame drives many to join clans like First Steps, one of the capital's top guilds. Most hunters, unless they are like Jinwoo, can't go far solo, so they join these clans for support. Cry tries to stay unnoticed, but a girl behind him, Ruta, starts chatting. He ignores her, but she steps in front and introduces herself as a level 3 hunter. She offers a handshake, but Cray refuses, giving only his name. Though disappointed, Ruta brushes it off and keeps talking about herself. She's been hunting solo until now, but when she stumbled upon a vault called the White Wolf Den, she couldn't handle it alone. She decided to join a party just as the man in front of them turned and told Ruta she shouldn't be tackling dangerous vaults like White Wolf Den while only being level 3. He smirked, calling her an amateur, and said that even at level 3, she was still a rookie compared to the experienced hunters. As the argument escalated, Ruta grew furious and Cray regretted not staying home to avoid the mess. Ruta drew her knives ready to attack, but a guard quickly stepped in, reminding her that this wasn't London and she'd be banned from the clan meeting if she continued. Realizing her mistake, she sheathed her knives and apologized while Cray pretended he wasn't involved. Later, Cray entered the meeting with Ruta by his side as he was the only one she knew. She was awestruck by all the powerful hunters and felt overwhelmed, never having been in a place like this before. She asked if Cray had been there before, and he told her it was his 5th time. Ruta thought he must not be a very good hunter if he had to keep returning to recruitment. In the world of hunters, talent is everything and even a nobody can rise through the ranks. Ruta notices a lively party with flashy outfits on the other side of the room and asks Cray about it. He explains that the party is called Arc Brave, and they are by far the strongest group recruiting today. They'd once completed a level 7 vault with just 6 members, earning them great respect. If their leader, Arc Rodin, recruits you, it almost guarantees a successful hunter career, though he's very selective. Intrigued, Ruta asks about the empty desk in the corner, but before Cray can answer, Greg approaches, offering to explain. Despite their earlier argument, Greg tells her the desk belongs to the Grievers, a legendary party of childhood friends known as the Grieving Souls who gained fame after arriving in the capital. Rumors suggested they might recruit today, but their absence leads Greg to believe the rumors were false. Just then, a kid eager to join the Grieving Souls gets frustrated at their absence as he dreams of becoming the strongest hunter. Greg finds him amusing, but Ruta stays quiet knowing the kid is actually a higher level than her. At that moment, a girl named Tino steps up, ready to shut the red-haired kid up with force, believing she's the only one who deserves to join the Grieving Souls party. Her partner tries to calm her down, thinking it's not worth making a scene, even though the red-haired kid is annoying. It seemed like the tension had settled, but then Greg jumps in, stirring things up. Now the whole room is rooting for a fight. Tino and the kid square off and Cray senses chaos is coming. Not wanting to stick around, he asks Ruta to step outside with him. As the fight is about to start, Tino, intending to seriously harm the kid, suddenly senses a familiar presence. When she spots Cray, she forgets the fight and charges at him. Caught off guard, Cray stumbles and Tino nervously calls him Master, asking if he saw her lose control. Arc then approaches, greeting Cray and mentioning that they've been waiting for him since he's both the clan leader and the head of Grieving Souls. Those who had recognized Cray before are stunned to realize he's the most important person there. Despite all the attention he's receiving, it's making him feel ill, and he just wants to go home. Years ago, when Cray and his childhood friends first arrived in the capital, they were clearing beginner vaults at record speed. But there was a catch. Cray had no idea what he was doing. He was saved from a monster, and his teammates mistakenly thought he was using himself as bait on purpose, so he played along, though he was nearly eaten. They all shared the dream of becoming top-tier hunters, but unlike the others, Cray was completely average. He knew he'd eventually drag the group down, so he decided to leave before his friends grew to resent him. Yet when he tried to quit, he somehow ended up being made the party leader. That's how he ended up in charge of his incredibly talented friends, though he really just wants to retire. Ruta and Greg are still shocked that Cray has been the clan master all along. As Cray relaxes in his chair, Arc approaches and asks if he showed up late to blend in with the crowd. Cray insists he simply overslept, but Arc is convinced otherwise. No matter how much Cray explains, people always see him as more impressive than he really is. Tino, unhappy with how close Arc is to Cray, wants him kicked out of the clan, but Cray refuses. Tino is a level 4 hunter and apprentice to Liz, one of Crei's childhood friends, so she spends a lot of time around him. Ark asks Crei if there are any good candidates for recruitment, but there's no real need for new members at the moment. Since Ark rarely recruits, Crei seizes the chance and asks if Ark would seriously consider his suggestions. To everyone's surprise, Ark agrees to accept anyone Crei recommends. The vice captain tries to dissuade him, but Ark insists Crei's choices will be worthy. Tino blushes, thinking Ark might suggest her, but she feels conflicted because she doesn't really like him. Suddenly, Gilbert, a kid from earlier, steps up, ready to beg for a chance. Crei tells Gilbert he'll recommend him on one condition, that as a hunter, the most important thing is to make sure you always win. If he lacks strength, he will end up putting his party members in danger. So Crei wants him to demonstrate that he has the ability to always win. Since Crei began his career as a hunter, he has never lost before, although that's because he has never actually been in a real fight anyway. Crei removes one of his ring artifacts and declares to the hunters that the first person to present it to Ark will be welcomed into his team. He throws the ring into the wild, eager to watch the chaos unfold. Gilbert grabs it first, but before he can even react, Tino leaps at him and knees him so hard that Gilbert is knocked across the room, likely needing medical attention. The ring rolls across the floor, and after a moment of hesitation, everyone starts scrambling for it. As the brawl intensifies, Crei quietly slips away, unconcerned about the destruction. By morning, however, the bar fight made front-page news as the place was completely wrecked, though thankfully, no one was seriously injured. Eva informs Crei that the Explorers Association has called for a private meeting, and he knows they're going to scold him. When he asks how Ark reacted, Eva tells him Ark found it amusing and wasn't upset. Hoping to take advantage of Ark's good mood, Crei suggests sending him the bill for repairs and having him attend the meeting, but Eva reminds him the meeting is specifically for him. With no way out, Crei reluctantly agrees to go, knowing that if he doesn't, Gark will hunt him down like always. Crei plans to use his secret weapon to get out of trouble quickly, groveling and apologizing. He argues that the only damage was to the bar, no one was hurt, and the owner has already been compensated for repairs, so there shouldn't be any further issues. Gark hasn't even yelled at Crei yet, but after seeing his apology, he decides to let it go for now. However, Crei still needs to take responsibility for his actions, so Gark assigns him a quest that he can't refuse. The association receives many quests, but some are so difficult or low-paying that hunters call them chores, and no one wants them. Crei tries to act like he's too important for a chore, but Gark insists. Forced to choose, Crei looks through the quest book and picks the easiest one, a level 3 quest. He plans to pass the work off to Ark, but when he looks for him, Tino tells him Ark is away at a meeting with nobles. With no other options, Crei is stuck with the task. Just then, Crei notices that Tino is wearing his ring, meaning she won his game yesterday. Putting that aside, he asks if she's free. Tino, excited and thinking he's about to ask her on a date, is disappointed when he reveals he has a quest for her. She immediately tries to run, but Crei summons his chain dog, Silver, to catch her. Soon she's tied to a chair as Crei explains the mission. Feeling betrayed, she complains she just wanted a date, not this lousy quest. When she suggests Crei should come with her, he declines, not wanting to do the work, and instead sends her off with the hunters from yesterday. 6 years ago, the most powerful clan in the region, which didn't even have a name at the time, arrived at the Adventurers Association to register. As usual, Crei tried to stop the team from proceeding and didn't even want to go inside, but his friends refused to quit. Despite Crei's doubts, he claimed he'd only hold them back, yet his companions insisted he stay as their leader. Frustrated with Crei's hesitation, the boldest of the group, Luke Cycle, kicked the door open, swaggering in and introducing himself as the world's best swordsman. Liz Smart, at his side, modestly declared herself the most powerful blade in the universe. Luke then told the staff member he was unmatched because, as Crei always said, real strength isn't tied to a weapon. With a wooden sword in hand, Luke believed he was the most dangerous. All Crei wanted was for Luke to stop embarrassing him in public. Either way, it was time to register the clan's name and symbol. The receptionist gave Crei a form, reminding him the name represents a group's spirit. Since no one had thought about a name, Crei quickly came up with Grieving Souls and drew a strange skull, hoping it would get him out of the leader role. Everyone in the group hated the name, so Crei used it to highlight his poor leadership. But just as he threatened to step down, his friends suddenly changed their minds, acting like the name was brilliant. That's how the Grieving Souls clan came to be. Fast forward to today, and Greg is shocked to find out the skinny, lifeless-looking kid is actually the master of steps known for 1,000 tricks. Crei recalls it's the second title he earned as leader of Grieving Souls, since top treasure hunters often get special names and become legends. Despite everyone saying so, Gilbert refuses to believe the kid is great, and Tino, who never liked him, complains to Crei that she can't work with this fake swordsman. Speaking of fakes, Cry considers himself the biggest fraud in Zabrudia because despite what people say, he's far from being the strongest. That reputation comes from his clanmates hyping up Grieving Souls as the best. Ignoring the argument, Cry asks if the group is ready for the mission. Gilbert, feeling insulted, calls the situation a joke and dismisses the kid. Greg tries to warn him, but Gilbert ignores him, so Cry kicks him off the mission. He then asks Greg and Ruta if they're in, and they agree. Furious, Gilbert expects Cry to beg for his approval, but Cry couldn't care less. Cry instead tells Tino to let him know if she needs anything. She seizes the opportunity to mention that she does need the master, but Cry firmly denies it. With that settled, Craig prepares to leave, but Gilbert challenges the 1,000 tricks, promising to join the group if he loses. Cry explains that Tino Shade is the leader, so it's her he'll be facing. Tino, never one to hold back, vows to unleash divine punishment on Gilbert, using the impressive range she gained through intense training. Confident, Gilbert promises to go all out and challenges Cry again after being Tino. Cry has no interest in fighting, but Tino draws Gilbert's attention, warning him that even though they're both level 4, she's nothing compared to the master. To make it more exciting, she drops her weapons, deciding to fight him bare-handed. Cray thinks Tino can handle the arrogant guy, but the sword of purgatory he wields might give him an edge depending on his skill. Surprisingly, Gilbert mimics her and drops his weapon too. Tino then declares that after defeating him, she'll go get ice cream with the master, though Cray isn't thrilled about it. She insists and Cray gives in to keep the peace. Motivated, Tino charges at Gilbert with incredible speed. He barely dodges the first strike but gets caught by a swift leg sweep, suffering his first hit of the day. Determined not to give up, the man strikes back at the girl, but she easily dodges and mocks him for challenging her master. Though it seemed he was beaten, Gilbert makes a comeback and regains control of his body. Tino then hits the man's neck, seemingly ending him. But as everyone assumes the swordsman is defeated, he recalls his childhood as a hunter. Even as a boy, he outmatched some adults in swordsmanship, quickly growing strong enough to pursue his career in the capital. Soon he formed a group and successfully plundered treasure vaults, feeling invincible. In the present, his rival warns him to use his sword if he wants to survive. Gilbert refuses, but she reminds him that pride is worthless when you're dead. Reluctantly, he agrees, though he can't stand being weaker than his opponent. Cry steps in, telling Gilbert they're alike. Just as Gilbert left his group due to a power gap, Cry faced a similar situation, though his group refused to let him fall behind. Gilbert begins to see Cry as a benevolent figure, even with his feared reputation. Meanwhile, Cry inspects the fallen man's sword, noting its elemental damage and solid design. The swordsman should handle the situation, realizing that the man wielded his sword far better than he ever could, reaching a level of skill he could never attain despite years of practice. Gilbert shouts that it's impossible and calls the leader of the Grieving Souls a monster. Cry then explains that mana material is considered the world's fundamental substance, but it's invisible to the naked eye. Treasure vaults are phenomena where spiritual lines and forces condense mana, creating limited alternate worlds based on the world's core memories. While many kingdoms study the rules behind this, they are still not fully understood. The White Wolf's Nest is one of these treasure vaults, once home to wolf monsters called Silver Moon, who were hunted to extinction for their pelts. Afterward, a blood-stained wolf ghost appeared along with the vault. Upon reading about this, the young man gets scared and notes that a treasure vault reflecting history's vengeance is overwhelming. Eva argues that Craig put the group in this situation, but he reassures her that his team is skilled enough to handle it since the vault is level 3 and they'll have 4 people, plus Tino is coming along. The boy also thanks her for telling him that Gilbert had left the group as it helped him at a key moment. Finally, the clan's vice master mentions the master put on quite a display with a relic in the training room. He replies that it was easy to control, especially since even Gilbert managed to use it without much knowledge. Cry enjoys collecting relics of various powers and forms and is curious if Gilbert would sell the Purgatory Blade. Upon hearing this, Eva loses her patience, pointing out that the boss already owns similar relics and even took out a loan from Citri due to debts, despite receiving the same commission as the other Grieving Souls members. The clan doesn't have endless funds. Embarrassed, Cry tries to respond but only remembers he needs someone to recharge his relics. He seeks out 2 allies, and while one recharges the relics, the other informs him that a ghostly wolf recently destroyed a caravan with level 3 escorts near the White Wolf's Nest. Although Cry assumes his team can handle it, the man warns that the ghosts are growing stronger. The woman adds that Rudolph Devout, a powerful level 5 lancer, has appeared there, and Cry recalls that he's wanted for a job related to the guild. Worried the mission might fail, Cray hopes Gilbert has recharged the Purgatory Blade. Meanwhile, the team is on its way to the nest and Tino doesn't help morale by revealing she wrote a will before leaving. She reasons that if her master sent her, the mission must be tough, but she trusts Cry wouldn't assign her to a random group, though the rest of the team feels this is exactly that. Gilbert accepted the job because the Thousand Tricks already knew why he left his previous group. Tino explains that the man is brilliant at deduction and has vast knowledge of the capital and its surroundings, so he likely figured it out from Gilbert's words. Ruta doubts this, but Greg believes only such a calculating mind could have predicted the bar incident. Tino adds that their master meticulously planned the mission to ensure no major dangers and would never send them to their deaths without careful thought. Ironically, after sending a group to their deaths without much thought, Cray decides to catch up with them in time to order them to abort the mission. Meanwhile, the team barely arrives before encountering a ghost wielding a sword and shield far stronger than any human. As Cry searches through endless clutter for the relic, Eva scolds him for carrying a forbidden citrus slime. Despite this, Cray flies off with the unstable relic, which may turn out to be his last flight. If you're enjoying the journey of this series, please hit that like and subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. All of your support helps me to keep bringing more high-quality recaps.